Inside of today's video, we're going to be taking a look at some brawlers which I think desperately need a buff and a nerf within the next update. The update is just around the corner, so hopefully a lot of these theories will actually make it with the balance changes. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Okay, so jumping straight in with the nerfs then. So starting off with Otis. So Otis, of course, right now is such a strong brawler. Ever since the nerf, he's still been one of the best brawlers, if not the best brawler inside of the game. So the main reason why you can tell this is because of his pick rate in terms of scrims, not only scrims but competitive play as much as possible. The data just shows that Otis is one of the best brawlers inside of the game. Main reason being is because he's good against everything. You know, he has some decent range, so a lot of brawlers can normally counter these type of tank counters by just outranging them, but Otis has insane range. His mute is so strong, and just because of how prevalent last pick tanks are right now in the meta, it's just a really good safety option at the beginning. So of course he needs a little bit of a nerf. So for me, I think again, go down the damage route. So right now he deals 660 per bullet. I think it should be around 630. So of course you don't want to overkill, because Otis, you guys remember when he was first introduced, he was the worst brawler in the side of the game. So just maybe a small damage nerf might make it so it's a little bit harder to get kills with Otis. So next up on the nerf list, we have Ashe. So Ashe is definitely in need of a little bit of a nerf. So the main reason why Ashe has just became so strong is because multiple tank counters received a nerf, especially Gale, for example, received a massive nerf. So in turn, it just made Ashe that bit stronger within the meta. I don't think buffing Gale back is safe for the game, or at least healthy for the game. So for me, just a small damage, well, not small damage, small health nerf for Ashe. So some time ago, he got a random HP buff, which I was unsure about. I think we should just probably revert this, or at least nerf him his HP by about 300 to 400, just so at least you got to be a little bit more calculated with Ashe, because right now it just feels like every single battle he has is able to win it so easily. So many different ways he can manipulate gunfights with Ashe. So next up on the nerf list, we have Sam. So hopefully Sam will receive a little bit of a nerf with the next set of balance changes, because right now he's so frustrating to play against, just because of the fact that you can just go so aggro with a Sam, and a good Sam player can win basically every single battle. And the annoying thing is, even if you kill a Sam, he's able to get back into the fight so much easier because of his super giving him that speed boost. So I don't think they'll be nerfing that part of Sam, just because that's kind of his unique aspect as a tank, right? I think they should just be nerfing his HP just a little bit. So before, you know, brawlers like Gale could just deal with Sam so easily, and that's why you didn't see him in previous metas. He only received a small buff to his HP, like 300, which I don't think really did the most. It was more so the Gale nerf. But for me, I think just buffing that, nerfing that HP back to its prior state might actually allow you to take down Sam a little bit easier, because right now he's just so frustrating to face off against. He's just constantly respawning, getting up into your face, and it just feels so hard to take him down because of the star power as well. So maybe they could nerf the star power as well, maybe make it 15% of that missing HP, just so it's a little bit easier to take him down in the long run. But Sam definitely needs a little bit of a nerf. So next up on the nerf list, we have Gray. So Gray, of course, right now is just so dominant. He's so versatile across multiple game modes. And of course, we have that broken bow Jackie Gray combination. So Gray is just so strong. So one of the main reasons why I thought it didn't need the most balancing, because I thought it actually took 5 hits to get Gray. I don't know, for the longest time, I just thought that in my mind because of the way it looks when you charge your super. But right now it takes 4 hits to get his super, so I think the nerf should be that it takes 5 hits to get his super, so he's not just spamming out those teleports so easily, because you guys know once you get that first teleport, it's just so easy to chain and make a nuisance of yourself. So that should be the first nerf with Gray. And then of course just instantly teleporting your teammates with you, I think is a little bit too cheesy. I mean, sometimes it can backfire. You know, there's been a few scenarios where, you know, I've gone to TP away and then my teammates just took place of me and then they've got pulled by a Gene or something. You know, there's some crazy scenarios have happened because of that instant teleport feature. But I think just because of the bow Jackie, or just kind of any aggro play, I think it's a little bit too strong. So hopefully they nerf it. Maybe if it's just 0.5 of a second after they teleport, it might be a little bit more balanced. Okay, so next up on the nerf list, we have Penny. So Penny, just like Otis, is just picked so much in terms of power league and competitive play that she definitely needs a little bit of a nerf. So she's just good against everything, right? Like, she's not completely broken, but she's just always that safe pick which you can always rely on against multiple brawlers. She's got a really good gadget against aggro brawlers, and just overall so easy to hit her shots consistently with. So I don't think Penny should get like a massive nerf, because of course it's pretty healthy for Penny to be in the meta so far, because I don't really consider the Penny meta is too toxic, right? So I think she just deserves a little bit of a nerf. So it's either her HP has to be nerfed or her damage from these. I think HP should be nerfed a little bit. 5,400 is actually quite a large amount. People kind of forget how much HP Penny has, so probably around 5,100 just to start with, and see if she starts to tail off the meta a little. Moving on to the final nerf, we have B. So B, for the longest time now, has just been such a strong brawler pretty much everywhere. I don't think they should completely kill B, because it just feels like she kind of came out of nowhere, right? She didn't receive any game-changing mechanic buffs or like game-changing buff in her stats. Just a meta around her, and people just learn how to play her a lot more easy. So for me, I think just nerfing her a little bit, whether that be with her reload speed. I feel like they don't want to really touch that though, so I feel like they could actually nerf her with the amount of shots it takes to get to super, right? So it only takes her right now 3 shots to hit super, and that super low-key is one of the best inside of the game, because once they're slowed, they're just pretty much dead. It lasts for so long, so maybe just making it so it takes a little bit more time for them to get their super might make B a little bit easier to take down. Alright guys, so now moving on to the buffs, which I hope come with the next set of balance changes. The first one is going to be with Leon and Sandy. So we've spoke about this quite a few times already, but I think this update is the time that they finally fix the vision gear, because you guys probably seen a few weeks ago I did a video about what Frank said on Twitter. You know, he said it's going to be some big shifts in the meta. Of course, I don't want to hype it up too much, but I think the vision gear has to be fixed by now. They surely know that it's such a big problem to have this vision gear just counter 2 brawlers like crazy, so making it easy. So they could actually do one of a few things I actually thought before I did the video are good ideas. So either they've got to, of course, make it so that only vision gear only detects people inside of grass and not the invisibility, like that's how it should be anyways, but or they could make it so the vision gear is actually a different type of rarity of gear. So just like the reload gear should make it that rarity, maybe an only selectable on a few brawlers. I feel like that could be a nice change and make it a little bit more balanced, but still kind of countering Leon and Sandy, so might be a little bit more interesting. But I feel like now they're gonna finally change it so then Leon and Sandy can have some usability in the meta. So next up on the buff list, we have Mr. P. So hopefully Mr. P receives a little bit of a buff. To be honest, he's one of the most underwhelming brawlers in the meta for such a long time, and one of the main reasons why I actually think he's really underwhelming, because both star powers and gadgets, to me anyways, just feel like they do nothing. Like, they feel like they're in the game, but you could easily play Mr. P as a power 9 without star powers, and well, not easily, but you get what I mean. Like, you don't need star powers with him, you don't need gears with him, you don't need anything with him, because they don't actually improve his kit overall. So I think both his gadgets and star powers either need a rework or a little bit of a buff, and you might actually start to see Mr. P be a little bit more viable, because right now he's not even usable as like a counter option. So next up on the buff wish list, we have El Primo. So El Primo, for the longest time as well, I've probably made several videos asking for a buff to El Primo, but hopefully it gets a little bit of love. So again, we know that Frank has said that tanks will be receiving a little bit of love with the next update, whether that be with a buff to his trait, whether that be environment changes, whether that be new gears. We don't know yet, but El Primo in his current state definitely needs a little bit of love. So for me, if maybe, I don't know, if it was pointing in a different direction and maybe we misread it, I feel like El Primo deserves a supercharged buff. So for me, well, right now he takes 12 punches to get his super. I think we should just change it to 11. The main reason being is because this really helps him in one interaction. So when El Primo jumps onto someone, it normally takes him 3 ammo and a super to get back his super, but with this change he will need just 2 pieces of ammo and a super to then recharge it again. So may not seem like a lot, but this will really help him cycle his supers and will definitely make a big impact for him in the meta. Next up on the buff wish list, we have bullets. So again, just like quite a few of these brawlers on this list, I just hopefully feel like this is the update that they're going to actually buff Bull quite substantially. So for me, Bull is just so easy to take down, and he has just so low HP in comparison to the other tanks. I know he does have a star power to help boost his HP a little bit, but still I feel like it just gets melted a bit too much. And then also, of course, a rework, which everyone's talking about, is to do with his super. You know, you have other brawlers like El Primo, for example, where you're actually allowed to choose where you go with your super and like where it ends, but Bull, you know, it feels like his super can go on for too long sometimes. So of course his Stomper gadget being incorporated into his base kit could be pretty nice, but if it don't do that, hopefully he can just get a buff to his HP, so at least he's a little bit more tanky. And finally, moving on to my final wish list in terms of buffs then. So again, just like multiple levels brawlers, I feel like this could actually be the update that Edgar gets reworked. So if we rewind back to the initial talks of an Edgar rework on Reddit, it was 5 months ago that Danny actually commented on that post, so hinting towards a rework to Edgar, and you know, hasn't received any buffs of any kind within those 5 months. So it's obvious that they've been working on a rework, just like they did with Penny. I think they'll be doing the same with Edgar in this update. I've got to call it right here, because surely he just hasn't received anything for so long. He's been such a terrible brawler for the longest time. Of course, in 1v1s, he can often win those fights, but of course, that's never the case in 3v3, because there's always someone else to finish you off when you're an Edgar, and still, it's just so easy to counter. So hopefully he gets a rework of some kind, whether that be with a new passive trait, you know, with like how tanks have, maybe with a buff to the super gear that he has right now. But I just feel like he definitely needs a big rework, because he's been the worst brawler in the game for such a long time. That's going to be it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know, just fire away as many ideas as possible in the comment section below. Maybe I can make a video on your guys' suggestions in terms of what do you feel like is going to be the big kind of rework or buff to tanks. Because, you know, there could be a lot of things. You know, I've mentioned it before. It could be that wolves have like a certain amount of HP, so then, you know, some certain supers might take it down quicker, you know, that kind of vibe. Or there might be like respawnable grass. We've touched on that before. There could be brand new gears coming into the game. There could be a new trait. I don't know. There could be a lot of different things to buff tanks, but pretty excited for hopefully a meta change. You know, right now, within the past few weeks, it's felt a little bit stale. So hopefully with Brawl Talk coming soon, I'm guessing, you know, 14 days, well, 16 days until the Brawl Pass changes. So there's got to be an update on the horizon. So that's going to be it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time.